Hello everyone and welcome back. We are going to look at quadratic sequences. So remember, quadratic sequences, you have already done them in grade 11, so it will just be a revision. So let's look at this question. It was on a previous question paper. It was actually question number 6. I don't remember which question paper is this one. So given the linear pattern, this is the linear pattern that is given to us. The first question will ask that write down the fifth term of this number pattern. Then the following question will be to determine a general formula for the nth term of this pattern, of which is a linear pattern. We are not yet dealing with quadratic pattern. And then now the following question will be, which term of this linear pattern is the first term to be negative? Okay? And then the last question will be, given the given linear pattern forms a sequence of first differences of a quadratic pattern. Then this is the formula for quadratic pattern with term 5 being equal to negative 25. And then now you have to determine a general formula. So basically this question is saying that this pattern of a linear pattern is the first difference of a quadratic pattern that has a term 5 with a value of negative 24. And then you will have to determine what? A general formula. Without wasting time, let's just go and answer the questions. So the first question says that what? Given the linear pattern, we know now this is a linear pattern. They say write down the fifth term of this pattern. If you can see on the question paper then, this question only counts 1 mark. So basically, because we know now this sequence of ours, let me just rewrite it here. 106 is to 148, and then it's to 140, and it's to 132, moving forward. So basically they have given us, they told us this is a linear pattern. So we know that the first, okay, the difference of this pattern will be what? Will be constant. So the difference between consecutive terms will be constant. So by just finding the difference between the first two terms, you'll know that this is equal throughout. So we will say what? 1, which is term 2, this is term 2 subtract term 1. This is the difference. So it's going to be 148 subtract 156, of which gives us how much? It gives us negative 8. So we know now the difference throughout this sequence is what? Is negative 8. Is negative 8. That means we are subtracting from a previous term negative 8 to get to the next term. So the question asks that write down the fifth term of the number pattern. So what you're gonna do, you will just gonna what? Because this is the fourth term, you're just gonna subtract 8 from the fourth term and then you get the fifth term. Therefore you will say 132 subtract 8, which gives us 124. Therefore you say term number 5 is equals to 124. So you're gonna get a mark for this. That is why it's 1 mark. So let's move to question number 2. So in question number 2, they say now determine the general formula of the nth term of this pattern. So basically, remember, this is a linear pattern. A linear pattern is an arithmetic sequence. So we already have a common difference, of which is going to be what? Is going to be d. So we already have the value of d, which is minus 8. And then we also going to need what? The value of a, which is the first term, which is how much? Which is 156. So the value of the first term is actually what? Is 156. Let me just write it there. 156. Remember, the general formula for an arithmetic sequence or a linear pattern is given by Tn is equals to a plus n minus 1 all multiplied by d. So remember, for us to determine this general equation, we just have to have the value of a and the value of d, and then we can determine the general equation. So now we have the value of a and the value of d. We just substitute. So Tn will be equals to, what is the value of a is 156 plus n minus 1, and then what is the value of d is going to be negative 8. Okay, so you see when I put a negative 1, I just put it in the bracket so that I don't make mistakes, so that I can know that I'm multiplying, not subtracting there. Then when you simplify further, it's going to be 156. And then it's going to be negative 8 multiplied by n, which is going to be negative 8n. And then it's going to be negative 8 multiplied by negative 1, which is going to be positive 8. And then the general formula of this sequence will be what? Will be negative 8n. Let's see, it's 156 plus 8. It's going to be plus 164. So now this is our what? This is our general term of this linear pattern. So let's move to the next question. The next question says what? Determine. Okay, it actually says which term of the linear pattern is the first term to be negative. So we have already calculated our general solution. Let me just write it here. Is Tn is equals to negative 8n plus 164. So the question is asking now, which term of this linear pattern will have the first value to be negative? So basically, the value, this is the Tn represent the value of the, let's say a term, a value of a term. So now, if ever this value is less than 0, which term will be the first one to have this value be negative 0? So basically, we will just have to say now, okay, if Tn is less than 0, then we will get the first value where our term will be first, where we'll have the first value of the term being negative. And then this will be what? This will be a range, or you can call it a domain, because it's going to start from somewhere and end up until the pattern continues, or it might end somewhere. We don't know. Let's just go and answer this one. So basically, in place of Tn, we will substitute what? Negative 8n plus 164, because Tn is equal to negative 8 plus 164. So we're going to have what? We're going to say negative 8n plus 164 less than 0. Okay, and then we're just going to solve for x normally here. We just transpose this one to go that side, and then we're going to have negative 8n than negative 164. Then you divide both sides by negative 8. You divide both sides by negative 8. Therefore, the nth term will be, remember, every time when you divide by a negative sign, your inequality sign will change. If it's less than, then it will be greater than. I will explain that when I actually put the notes for algebra. I will explain that in algebra. So basically, n now will be greater than, it will be greater, let's put in the calculator, it will be greater than 20.5. Then you see now, it says that the value of n, where the value of the sequence will start to be negative is when the n value is greater than 20.5. Therefore, the first term of the sequence will be what? Will be where n is equals to 21. Because the 20th term, it is still a positive term. It still has a positive value. But the 21st term will be the one that has a what? A negative value. Okay, so moving to the last question, of which is why we wanted to do this question, because we wanted to what? To revise what? Geometric sequences. So the question says that given a linear pattern forms the given linear pattern, okay, the pattern that was already given to us forms the sequence of the first difference of a quadratic number pattern, okay, with term number 5 being equal to -4. Determine the general formula of Tn. Okay, so now this question is saying now, remember we were given a pattern. Let me just divide here. We were given a pattern to say a linear pattern that has what? A first value has been 156, and then the second value being 148, the third value being 140, and then the fourth value being what? Being 132. Moving forward, yeah? And we already calculated the value of number 5, but you see I don't have space there. And then we have already identified to say now we have what? The constant difference of this arithmetic sequence. So the first difference of a geometric sequence actually represents an arithmetic sequence. It's going to be -8, then -h, which is what? Which will be the second difference of a quadratic sequence. So you already did quadratic sequence in your previous grades. I'm just revising here, or maybe I will have a lesson whereby I am starting to explain geometric question from start. So just text me on the comments there if ever you want me to actually go into details with this quadratic pattern. So basically this means here we'll have the first term of our quadratic pattern, and then this will be the second term, this will be the third term, and then this will be the fourth term. But we know what? We know the value of the fifth term, which is going to be how much? -24. So now you remember the first value of your second difference in quadratic sequence is what? Is equivalent to what? To 2a. And then now also the first value of your first difference is equivalent to what? To 3a plus b. So these things you have did in your previous grade. And then also the first term of your quadratic sequence will be equals to a plus b plus c. Okay, so now we need to determine the general equation of this quadratic pattern here that has a fifth value being -24, and then it has a second difference, or the first difference has been this arithmetic sequence that is given to us, and then the second difference will have be -8. So now let's find the value of a. You know, it's very easy to find the value of a. You just say 2a. A is equals to what? -8. So you divide both sides by 2. You divide both sides by 2. And then the value of a will be equal to how much? -4. So we have the value of a here being what? Being -4. Then when we have the value of a, we can find the value of b, because we know now b, 3a plus b is equals to what? The first term of the first difference of quadratic sequence, which is 156. We already know the value of a, which is how much? Which is now -4, and then this is plus b equals to 156. So when you put into your calculator, 3 multiplied by -4 is going to be -12. So we have -12 and then plus b, all equals to how much? 156. Then now when you transpose, it's going to be b is equals to 156 plus 12. And when you put it in your calculator, you get how much? 156 plus 12 is going to be 168. So the value of b is going to be what? Is going to be 168. So now the value of b is going to be what? Is going to be 168. Okay. So now let's try to find the what? The value of c, because remember for quadratic sequence, you need to find the value of a, b, and c, and then you can determine the general equation for quadratic sequence. So remember, we are given the value of the fifth term. Remember, the value of the fifth term is equal to how much? Negative 24. So basically, we can say now term number 5 of this geometric sequence is equal to how much? Is equal to negative 24. But how do we represent a quadratic sequence? A quadratic sequence is given by what? By Tn is equals to an squared plus b n plus c. So now we can do what? We can substitute what? We already have Tn here. We already have Tn as being how much? Negative 24. And then we also have what? We also have n, because it's the position which is the fifth position. And we also have the value of a and the value of b of the quadratic sequence. That means we can calculate the value of c. So now we're going to substitute the value of Tn, which is minus 24. And then we check the value of a. The value of a is how much? Is minus 4. Remember, the value of n will be 5 because it's the fifth term. Then we have plus the value of b is going to be much? 168. It is 168 multiplied by n, which is how much? Which is 5, and then plus c, of which we are looking for. So basically, I'm just going to transpose everything to the other side and then just put it in the calculator the same way as it is. So we're going to have what? We're going to have negative 24. Then when I transpose this one here, it will change sign, and then it's going to be plus 4 multiplied by 5 all raised to the power of 2, and then minus what? 168 all multiplied by 5. Then we get the value of c. Therefore, the value of c will be how much? The value of c will be, we just punch everything in the calculator, is negative 24 plus 4 multiplied by 5 all squared minus 168 all multiplied by 5. So now the value of c will be what? Will be negative 764. So remember, when you're looking for quadratic sequence, when you have the value of a and b and c, then you can represent what? Your general equation of your quadratic sequence. Let me just erase here and then write the general formula for Tn of this quadratic sequence. So now Tn, remember, I'm just going to repeat it again. Quadratic sequence is what? Is an squared plus bn plus c. And therefore, Tn will be equals to what? Let's say the value of a is going to be negative 4 n squared. The value of b is going to be what? Is going to be positive what? 168 n, then minus 764. Okay, so now this will be what? This will be our a general formula for this geometric sequence. Thank you very much.